Taiwan, I think, is very well prepared for the blockade. And
What about energy resources? Don't you get the Middle Eastern oil and?
yeah, that will be a problem, but Taiwan is also a society that is very well trained to survive with the minimal things. So of course it will affect to Taiwan. But there's another problem, talking about resources. What about microchips? Because the world needs Taiwanese microchips.
Correct.
Taiwan is producing the 60% of all the microchips, the whole world. So in case of all countries all around, like Japan, Korea, the States, let China invade Taiwan, what will happen on that case? From my perspective, China will become the next superpower immediately.
Let's just have a reality check here for a second. If I had a map and I removed all of the names of the countries on the map,
Okay.
do you think Joe Biden or Donald Trump could find Taiwan on a map?
That is a very good question. Not sure. I guess that they themselves not,
Yeah.
but their advisor,
Okay.
of course, will.
Okay, so given that we both agree that it's highly unlikely that either of these guys could find Taiwan on a map, do you think that they're even remotely cognizant of the fact of literally anything you just said for the last 10 minutes?
I think that should give us courage, exposure to other people's perspectives.
Moving us in a good direction.
Jesus?
Yeah.
No, let's do that again. Let's do that
Jesus,
again.
Jesus.
Let's do that again. Okay. Okay, I gotta stop laughing. I gotta make myself stop laughing. Okay. Jesus, welcome to Conversations with Peter Boghossian.
Thank you very much for having me here.
We're in Taiwan, and you have one of the most popular YouTube channels in all of Taiwan. So tell us, for those in the audience not familiar, tell us about yourself.
Okay, I came here in 2006, and I came here for study Chinese, and because I want to have the experience of living here. Since I was young, I was fascinated for many different Asian cultures, and I want just to experience to living here. So I came 1 year
From Spain?
From Spain, from Madrid. And I came 1 year for study Chinese. I was super crazy focused on study Chinese. And after 1 year, I decided that I prefer my life here than my life in Spain, sorry. And I decided to stay. So
And you speak Mandarin.
I speak Mandarin. I started to learn before I came here. And I speak also Taiwanese. I speak other languages, like Indonesian, for example. But my daily life, like main language, main communication language is Mandarin.
Well, okay, so on your channel, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, we have a mutual friend, Jaime, who has Ska Coffee, the best coffee in all of Taiwan, all of Taipei, Ska Coffee. He's our buddy. So one of the things that you talk about is the China-Taiwan problem, and that's what I'd like to talk to you about today.
Yeah.
Because you're very familiar that you do man on the street interviews, you speak to a lot of people, you're
do a lot of research, read a lot of news about that, and I'm constantly learning about that.
right. Okay, so give us a 60-second summary of the problem.
Okay, the story, there are many versions of this story, but basically it's like before was Taiwan, that is here after like the Japanese lose in the World War II. The government of the Republic of China came to Taiwan, and they was fighting against the communists in mainland China. You know, when people say that is mainland China, and then they came here. On that time, that was the real, like the official China was called, because actually there's not a country that is called China. Is the Republic of China, and because they was losing the war, they came to Taiwan, and they established the government here. So basically, they colonized Taiwan, and at the same time, the communists, they established a new country that is the People's Republic of China. So there's like two Chinas, and they established a new government there. And at the same time, the Republic of China start to colonize Taiwan. So Taiwan, on that time, the Republic of China was only the 12% of the population on Taiwan. So there was the local, so they start to repress the local. And then, as everyone knows, the People's Republic of China become like more power. And in 1971, in the NATO, the People's Republic of China start to represent China, and the Republic of China start to get less representation in the world. So now what we have is like the local population and the Republic of China like kind of mix, and people are not very aware that actually the Republic of China is a foreigner government, and the People's Republic of China claims that actually the Republic of China is not a legal government and they represent China and Taiwan is part of them. But Taiwan never be part of the People's Republic of China.
Why not?
They never been.
Taiwan, they have never been historically part.
Historically was never been part of the People's Republic of China, but the People's Republic of China use a trick for claims Taiwan as a territory.
Yeah.
They say that historically is all China. They use China, this word, for simplify many things. Actually, they used to say, as many people knows, that China has 500 years of history, and that is not true. Like China as a country is from 1912.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like 500. As a territory, like a geographic concept, yeah, has 500, but Spain have maybe like 2,000 years. But as a country, it's a different thing.
So you think that the territorial claims so China is claiming that Taiwan is a province, and you think that claim is not legitimate?
Of course it's not. Because the People's Republic of China, as legal concept, the People's Republic of China, that is what everyone calls China, but the real name is People's Republic of China, never, like even one day, have Taiwan, this island, under their law, under their like jurisdiction. I don't know if is that correct.
Yes, it is correct.
So is the never, even one day, because when they was established, that is was in 1949, Taiwan was under the Republic of China control.
Okay, so obviously the Chinese have a different perception of this.
Actually, for me, it's not that they have a different perception. It's they use a simplification of the reality for claim that. But the reason, because they claim that, are not that they have a different perception. Is that they want Taiwan for other reasons.
Correct.
And they claim that for historically something as a trick to say that they have this authority, but it's not true.
And do the people of Taiwan, and you've interviewed a lot of people, in your experience, what percentage of the people want unification with China?
Around 5% of the population.
5%?
Yeah.
And the rest do not want it?
Yeah, it's like another big percentage, like probably the biggest. They want to keep the status now, the same situation that we have now, like to be like, in fact, two different countries, but because actually they're two different countries. And like a small part of the population also want to become independent. But this is another very interesting trick.
Yeah.
Because what China says is that, like People's Republic of China said, is that Taiwan want to be independent from them. But Taiwan was never part of People's Republic of China. So how can be like independent
they're
from
just thugs.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
it.
fake.
They're just thugs.
Yeah, but what actually Taiwanese independent movement claims is that want to become independent from Republic of China. That actually is the government, the foreigner government that came to Taiwan and is the actual government in Taiwan.
And what do you think the response of people would be if there was a blockade or an invasion?
Taiwan is quite. There are two different topics, like a blockade or invasion. I think that for a blockade, Taiwan is a country that is very can self-provide many things. I think that, for example, medicines. In Taiwan, we don't need to import medicines. So most part of things that the goods that we use in Taiwan are made in Taiwan.
I wish the United States could say the same. It cannot.
Yeah.
We're completely dependent upon Chinese pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, so that will be something that Taiwan can stand. And Taiwan is not very used to the violence and war. These things is a very peaceful society.
Very civilized.
Yeah, but Taiwan has a trick.
Just like LA, where Reed lives.
Yeah. So Taiwan is actually like is something that is a little bit tricky, because when you came to Taiwan like a foreigner and you see everything like super cute, super peaceful, you will miss a point that, for example, schools are basically like military training, are based on military training.
The schools here?
Yeah. It's like in the schools, they clean their own schools, the kids. They take care of the cleaning and take care of everything in the school. And they have like a kid that is the police inside the... So is a kid that his task is to check that everything is in order. So it's a super well organized society. So for example, we do many drills. Like every few months we do some military drills. And when in Taiwan, the government say, don't go to the street, no one goes to the street. And if you try to go to the street because you are foreigners, you don't know, people will remind you. So it's super well organized society. They are really good like following our orders. And that in a war will be something very important.
But the people here, they don't have guns.
Yeah. Zero guns in Taiwan. It's like, they're guns, but it's nothing.
So how are they going to defend an invading army?
Yeah, that is a very good question, because we didn't get to that point. We are talking about the blockade.
Okay.
Now talking about...
That's fine. All right, let's keep... Okay, you're right, you're 100% right. So let's linger on the blockade, then we'll talk about the invasion. So
blockade, Taiwan, I think, is very well prepared for the blockade. And
what about energy resources? Don't you get the Middle Eastern oil, and don't you...
that will be a problem, but Taiwan is also a society that is very well trained to survive with the minimal things. So of course it will affect to Taiwan. But there's another problem, talking about resources. What about microchips? Because the world needs Taiwanese microchips.
Correct.
It's like TSMC is like producing Taiwan is producing the 60% of all the microchips, the whole world.
I heard it was 90% of the top microchips.
Is the 90% of the more advanced ones.
The top
but the 60% of the whole microchips.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons China wants.
Is one of the main reasons. Yeah. But they don't say that. They said that companies like Huawei already developed their microchips and this shit, and it's not true. So Taiwan is Korea and the States.
Okay, so if there's a blockade, and I'm assuming they're going to cut internet cables, and you think Taiwan can endure a blockade? Not indefinitely, right?
Yeah, not forever, but I think that can endure enough to there and other countries, because this will be a disaster for the whole world economy because of the microchips, basically. And I think that can endure enough for the other countries to came to prevent an invasion, like the States. And why I think that States will protect Taiwan is not because like friendship or something like that. It's basically because if United States lets China invade Taiwan, China will control the microchips, and not only microchips, because Taiwan is, this is the second reason because they want Taiwan, is in the middle of Japan, China, and all this Southeast Asia. Like geographically is like super important place.
So your belief, and is it safe to say that people here of Taiwan in general believe if there's a blockade, the United States will come to the rescue?
Yeah, and I not only think that from me, I hear that from many politicians in the States, but not because.
I have news for you.
Okay, later we talk about that. But okay, what will happen if the States lets China invade Taiwan? Okay, if it's not only States but also Japan or even Korea let like China absorb and control Taiwan. Okay, China will be in control not only.
You're talking about a blockade now.
No, I'm talking to the invasion.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we moved there yet. Okay, so let's move to the invasion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in case of that, like all countries all around, like Japan, Korea, the States, let China invade Taiwan, what will happen on that case? That basically China will control like the chips production and will control also like most part of the manufacture in the world. So what will happen on that time? From my perspective will be something like China will become the next superpower immediately, because if you control the microchips, what will happen? If I want, for example, that Apple release the new generation of smartphones this year, I can let them this year or next year. So I can make the Huawei have the biggest advanced competitive advantage.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let's just have a reality check here for a second. If I had a map and I removed all of the names of the countries on the map.
Okay.
So it's just a map. Do you think Joe Biden or Donald Trump could find Taiwan on a map?
That is a very good question. Not sure. I guess that they themselves not, but their advisor, of course, will.
Okay. So given that we both agree that it's highly unlikely that either of these guys could find Taiwan on a map.
Okay.
Do you think that they're even remotely cognizant of the fact of literally anything you just said for the last 10 minutes?
I don't think that they have, or probably yes, I don't know, but their advisors will know. Actually,
You are optimistic about the U.S.
Okay, I have an interview that I will recommend about Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Interview the I don't know how to pronounce, is like a candidate for like presidential election from like Indian heritage, but I don't remember the name of the guy.
Vivek Ramaswamy?
Yeah. Ramaswamy is the name. Okay. Ramaswamy.
He's different. Like he's another level. Like he's for sure can find him in Taiwan. I'm positive. I know Vivek. I'm sure he understands 100% what you said, but go ahead.
Yeah, in that interview, he explained very well. He says something like, now, he was very concerned from the state's perspective. He was saying something like, I will share to you that interview.
But he's not going to be president. It's going to be Trump and Biden.
Yeah, but the logic is the same. He was explaining why the states cannot let China invade Taiwan.
Yeah.
He said it's not for any good reasons. It's because if you let China invade Taiwan, the states is fucked. Because if you control the microchips, you will control the production of everything that you need for your
advanced economy.
Yeah, how you will compete, how Apple will compete with Huawei if the chips and the productions are controlled by China. It's impossible to compete.
Okay, so let's go back to the invasion thing now.
Yeah.
So, first of all, how likely do you think there is that there's going to be an invasion? Let's go back to the blockade, the invasion. How likely in 2024 do you think a blockade is? Like, what percentage? And then how likely do you think an invasion is?
An invasion, I don't see an invasion right now. I think that probably if the circumstances change, can be bad so far. I hear about the next year invasion since I came here in 2006.
Okay, give me a percentage though. Like, what, in your opinion, how likely is it that there'll be the
you want the
Chinese
numbers?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
How likely is it the Chinese will blockade Taiwan, and how likely is it they will invade?
Okay, I will say that blockade 20%. It's of course it's something like completely random.
Right.
Yeah, but 20%, and to an invasion, I will give 1%.
In 2024.
Yeah.
So a very small chance, 100.
Yeah. I think that many media, and I think that is part of the propaganda of the...
Oh, really? Interesting.
Many media is like, for example, I remember The Economist was making an article last year that saying that Taiwan is the most dangerous country in the world. But I'm hearing that for 18 years.
Yeah.
But if you ask Taiwanese, they are hearing that since they was a child.
Yeah.
So after a while, you don't care. Have you seen people in the street worry about that?
They become numb to it.
Yeah, because already hear that for years. And let me ask you a question. If China is so powerful, why didn't it invade Taiwan? And for example, last year,
I'm happy to answer that, but go ahead.
Okay, last year will be a great time because the whole world was very focused on the Ukraine-Russia war, and why not take the chance to be easily invade Taiwan? And on top of that, we have the presidential elections at the beginning of this year, and the pro-independent, that is another topic that we can discuss because I don't think that they are really pro-independent.
Yeah.
But most pro-independent, less pro-China party, they win. So why don't take that chance as an excuse for invade Taiwan?
Okay, so I'm trying to think through these issues. Let me ask you a question. So, do you think Biden or Trump would be better for Taiwan?
I'm not so familiar with what their politics about that. I think that will not be, for me, from my perspective, but I'm not very familiar with the states. I'm following, probably I'm more familiar than most people, but not so familiar, don't understand so much politics there. But I don't think that will be a great difference. But because I think that not themselves, I think that at the end of the day, Biden and Trump, they are, for me, not the important people, but who is behind them. I think that who is behind them understand perfectly what I'm saying, that if you let China control the microchips and the production, you are done.
So what would your advice be if the President of the United States, whoever it is in the next election, it looks like it's going to be Trump, who knows, calls you on the phone and says, "You're the real Jesus. What is your advice for me with regard to Taiwan? What would you say?
Yeah, continue like keeping like the promise of like protect Taiwan in case of an invasion. Yeah, and that will be the most basic. And another thing is like, what I would like is that Taiwan change their status and become independent. But the problem is that for do that
It's a red line.
is China like claims that they will attack Taiwan. So that will be a problem, even if it's not legitimate. But if they do that, I will not want to have a war here. So as most part of Taiwanese, we will like to keep what we have now. Because
Would you move? Would you move if you thought that they were gonna? If the odds of a blockade or invasion increased and there was tension, would you leave Taiwan?
That is a very good question that I ask myself many times. And that is something that I cannot say in front of my family because they will be very worried. But I'm not so worried about a war. I probably will stay because probably I will not able to leave. But what I'm most concerned is, because I actually, changing the topic, I think that China's plan is not invade Taiwan. I don't think that China wants to invade Taiwan. I think that China wants to control Taiwan by other plan. That we can talk later about that. But I think that
Like the kind of one belt, one road policy that they're doing in Africa? I mean, what do you...
Something like that. But I think that if one day Taiwan is under the People's Republic of China, I will leave, because otherwise I will be sent to the re-education camp for many years, and probably I will not go back from there. So I will leave on that case.
Because you're a target of the Chinese?
Yeah, because I am in the People's Republic of China blacklist, because I talk about these kind of topics. And China, and that is something that I think that in the Western world, you can tell me, not many people understand, and I'm fascinated about that, how people don't understand, even Taiwanese don't understand very well that China is a state that cannot tolerate that they cannot control something. Another of the reason because they want Taiwan is because they cannot control Taiwan.
Right.
So that freaks them. That makes them super scared. They don't want to reunify about this kind of bullshit. They want to have like absolutely control of everything. They want the 100% control of things. And when there's something minimal, super little thing that they don't control, they freak out.
Yeah.
I give you an example,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Do you know that there, outside China, they have 110 police stations? And do you know about that?
What do you mean outside China?
Outside China, the People's Republic of China, the government, they have 110 police stations.
Where?
Overseas. They call them overseas police stations all around the world, even the States. In New York, they used to have one, and now it's closed because. But people in the Western world don't know about that.
I mean, I know they have Confucius Institutes. I know they have...
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I'm talking about police station, overseas police station. In Spain, they have 9, and people don't know. I make a video talking about that, and my Spanish friends call me and say, "Is that true?" And I start to send them like news links. They're in the news, but they're like very, very, very little news, so people don't know about that, and people don't care. And actually,
nobody cares about anything. No one cares about the debt. No one cares about Chinese police.
Yeah.
No one cares about wide-scale corruption of institutions. No one cares. The West is done.
Yeah, that is something fascinating.
Yeah.
But they was like crazy. It was like, really? And when I sent them the links and the news, they was like, what? I never hear about that, and you are telling me about that. It's like,
I hadn't heard about that, but we know about other things that the Chinese have actively done for decades. And so you told me, literally everybody we've had on this show has told me that once I release interviews with them, I'll be blacklisted from China.
Yeah, because they are crazy scared about anything that can be against their power. They want the 100% control. If they have the 99% control, they are scared as that. That is why I mentioned the police station. Why
and you said don't go to, you can't even land in China, Hong Kong, and fly
even
out
transfer.
from there. Transfer.
Yeah.
Well, I have news. I have news for the CCP. Fuck you. No, I mean, you can intimidate a lot of people. You're not intimidating me. Fuck you. They're going to go after the YouTube channel. Fuck you. All right, so please continue. That's my message to you fucking thugs. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, for example, why I mentioned that is because they have these police stations because they want to control that no one Chinese citizen say anything related to what is happening in China. They don't want them to talk about human rights. They don't want to talk about anything. Many people in my comments, I receive around 500 to 1,000 comments, message every day. And
every day?
Yeah.
From your YouTube channel?
Yeah. YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, more or less. Wow. Sometimes if I have a video with more visits, maybe I have like thousands, but around that. And many people talk me about how bad is many politics, many things in the Western world. How bad is the Western world? And I agree, Western world is
no
bad.
Question.
But Western world have tons of shit, but you cannot compare that with the shit in China. You cannot compare, for example, if we're talking about media in Western world is not perfect. It's far away to be perfect. There are a lot of shit and a lot of things that you can criticize. But the reality is that China is the country in the world that have more journalists in jail. And that is something, it's a reality. There are numbers, and actually those numbers are probably much bigger than we know, because they make people disappear. And that is something that I can criticize Biden, I can criticize, tell me that if it's true, I never went to the States. But I guess that I can criticize Biden, I can criticize Trump, I can criticize both, and I can go there.
Criticize.
Yeah, I will not arrive to the airport in the States and we get to a room and be interrogated or be intimidated. I guess that will happen, but that happened in China. I give you another example. Please. I have a journalist friend. He's journalist, but he's freelance journalist. He's not a super famous, big star journalist. So it's only freelance journalist that is based in Bangkok. He's a Spanish guy. He's not talking about China. Sometimes he talks about that topic, but it's not his main topic. He's talking about news in Spanish, only talking about Thailand. And the guy, last time he went to China, he was in a trip with his wife, and he get to a room and get interrogated because they know that he's journalist, and maybe in Spanish he mentioned something about China and be a little bit critic about that, and he was interrogated last time he went to China. So they are scared as that to any kind of criticism.
They have to be, because they're tyrants.
Yeah.
They have to enforce, because their power isn't legitimated by the people.
Yeah.
So they have to have another way to exercise control, and it's fear.
Yeah.
It's power.
Yeah. I remember last time that Xi Jinping was to go to meet Biden in the States.
Yeah.
They after that, there an interview to Biden. There's a lot of journalists, and one of them asked them, so after this meeting, you still think that Xi Jinping as a dictator? And Biden said, he is. And many people was criticizing him. Of course, I'm not like fan of Biden, but people was criticizing him for that. And I don't care about Biden. I don't have any emotional attachment to anything related to the state because I never went there. But I was like, but he's right. He was not saying something crazy. I don't care about who is Biden. But many people was criticizing Biden. But it's true. He's a dictator, so how you want to call a dictator? But that is the most interesting thing, that they are really scared to be called this dictator. Or, do you know about Brendan Cavan? There's become very viral, a very famous like pianist in the metro of London.
Oh yeah.
Super good guy that he was making live streaming there with the piano, nothing political, but suddenly there are a Chinese group of people who came and they was like talking to him, super friendly, but then there are Chinese spy and he's like a spy by the MI6, MI6, and suddenly they become very aggressive to the guy and say, you need to delete your footage. And the guy say, no, I don't need. We are in a public space. In the legislation of, in the law of United Kingdom, is legal. And if you are in a public space, you don't have the right of claim your image rights. So they start to harass the guy, like proceeding to legal action to him, and the guy say, no, you want to play that, I play double. So the guy was double down
this man.
And start to make a huge scandal. I was talking with the guy, actually, and I make a couple of videos talking about him. I invite him to come to Taiwan.
Wonderful.
And he was very busy. It's normal, so he cannot come here. But we have a couple of chats. He was sharing also my videos and was like very nice. But the guy is that, no, I don't care. It's that I have this right. And something very interesting is that if you don't use your right is not something that you can have. You need to use them to have this right.
It's amazing how many people cede their rights. They're just cowards.
Yeah, I can understand. Because if you do these kind of things, you need to face the consequences. I need to face the consequences that maybe China one day like pay someone to came to
kill you,
to kill me.
Sure.
And I know that. And my family is crazy about that. My family is like constantly, like since few months ago, constantly asking me to stop talking about these topics. But they don't understand that those topics are important to me.
Well, they don't understand that you're not a coward. And that's what cowards do.
Yeah.
Cowards don't stand up to tyrants. And that emboldens the tyrants to torment more people, and the weak people fall first. The cowards fall first.
Yeah.
And we are replete in a world with cowards. They're everywhere.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I can understand. I don't blame people who don't.
Oh, I do.
Okay, I know, because I can understand that.
It's interesting. I was watching a video the other day of a guy who was eating his lunch on Ramadan. Mm-hmm. And he was shamed. I mean, he's not a Muslim. And he was shamed by people for eating during Ramadan, and he packed up his lunch. I would have said, hey, if you don't want to eat on Ramadan, don't eat on Ramadan. But I'm eating my lunch. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to say that there's an epidemic of cowardice.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are people who claim, Ska Coffee, best coffee in Taipei. There are people who claim that they don't know what a woman is. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Yeah, of course.
They don't have any idea.
And that the epidemic is something
No
that...
idea what a woman is.
Yeah.
Gotta ask a biologist. Like, no, what's your mom? Is your mom a woman? I have no idea. I have no idea what my dad is. I know what a man.
Yeah, in Spain we import that from the States.
Yeah, I know. It's our colonial, neo-colonial export. But there is an epidemic of cowardice. There's an epidemic of people who stand up and say, I know what a woman is. My mother's a woman. My father was a man. Yeah. It's wrong to mutilate the genitals of children. Mm-hmm. I know exactly. I mean, there is, whether it's eating on Ramadan when you're non-Muslim, standing up to the CCP, the consequence of cowardice is that it emboldens tyrants. And inevitably, the consequence of that is that every time you don't stand up to someone, you continue to give away your freedom. In small ways, your speech freedom, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press, freedom of conscience, freedom to worship the way you want, or not worship at all.
Yeah, talking about that, I think that I take that decision because my early years experience, that I was bullied by my neighbors, and I really hate that feeling.
Yeah.
Like when I was young, my favorite movie was Blade Runner.
Great film.
Yeah.
Love that film.
Yeah.
There's one of my favorite scenes in all that film was when Rutger Hauer is at the very end and he improvises the scene about the Tannenhauser Gate. Wonderful. Anyway, go ahead.
And in that film and in the book, that the book's name, I was like making a research, but by the way, about that film.
Yeah.
It says something about what is a slave. And it's something that also changed my mind. It's like a slave is someone who lives with fear. And I love that definition. It's not a slave, freedom is like don't live with freedom. And I think that actually in China, most part of the repression is not only because I talk with many Chinese people or many Taiwanese who are working in China, and they explain me how it works, how the CCP controls the people. People is not only controlled directly by the CCP, but they are afraid of if they do something, maybe they start to become paranoid. And say, oh, if I do this, maybe I'm going to do that. And people, like paranoid is something very contagious.
Yeah.
You know that, for example, for making these kind of videos, I have many friends who call me, no, you are doing that and you are ruining your career and blah, blah, blah. And the consequences, and they told me that, and they are very concerned. They are like really, really afraid for me. They don't have bad intentions on try, but that is something that I'm very aware, because I receive this kind of information or message every day, and I don't want to live like that. I want to be free, even if that cost me, like for example, that cost me my financials were really bad for 1 year. I was using my savings.
Would you choose to? I don't think it's in the state of New Hampshire anymore, but there was something on the license plate that said, live free or die.
Yeah.
That's what it said around. Would you, if you knew that the CCP was going to kill you, if you didn't stop, would you stop?
I will try to, I don't want to die, I'm not.
How old are you?
44.
All right, so you're still a young guy, fairly young guy. As you get older, it gets easier to say, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because more of your life is behind you than ahead of you.
Yeah. But actually, I'm pretty aware, because in my early life, my mom passed away.
Yeah,
and no problem. But that is something that changed me in many ways. So since I was a child, I was very aware about death. Yeah. And I think that people is super scared about death. But we are going all to die. So why not? I'm more scared now about other things. It's like, don't use like my time for do something meaningful for me. And that is why I make my channel. My channel used not be like that. I used to talk about cultural difference and other stuff, and I was not very clear about like the direction that I want to give to my channel. But like 1.5 years ago, I quit my previous job, that I was manager in a company, and I was like focused, 100% focused on my YouTube career. So first decision I made is I'm only going to talk about something that I really care about. And that was Taiwanese identity, because I discovered a long time ago that Taiwanese, they have a huge issue with their identity. They don't know if they are Chinese, they are people from the Republic of China, they are Taiwanese, they are Han people, They're like Chinese ethnicity, they're like a big mess. And I was fascinated for that. And I think that to know who you are is something that can help you to decide your future. So I start to talk about that. And because for me, it's very important, very meaningful, because I really care about this country. This country gives me a great life. This country gives me like the second half of my life. I always living here. And I love it. And I care, even if they are not, like most part of Taiwanese, are not so clear about these kind of topics, I care. And sometimes these have great rewards.
So let me ask you a question. So Taiwan does not have nuclear weapons.
No.
Do you think Taiwan should acquire nuclear weapons to deter China?
Nuclear weapons is something very very dangerous. I think that Taiwan should have invest more in weapons. I think that
nuclear weapons. I'm specific.
No, not so sure about that. I'm not expert on military or something like that, but I think that nuclear weapons are something that you can have, but I'm not so sure about if that will be a good idea. I think that maybe yes, just like a protection.
So I've been asking people, we've had a bunch of people on the show, and I'm very curious. I've been asking people, if Taiwan did buy nuclear submarines from the United States, do you think, and obviously this is hypothetical, obviously, and China did blockade Taiwan, or even worse, invade Taiwan, do you think that the Taiwanese people would be justified in a tactical nuclear strike on Beijing and Shanghai?
If blockades or invade, if try to invade Taiwan, yes. Yeah, it's like a reaction to an aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Taiwanese people, I think that they will justify it.
And if people, if Beijing, if the CCP didn't actually believe that the nuclear weapons would be used, there'd be no point to have them. So they have to believe it, and the only way they have to believe it is if the people would actually do it, or else it's not a deterrent.
Yeah, of course. It's like the ultimate threat.
Which is why North Korea and Iran want to go. So I am far more sober about our situation than you are. I don't think that the United States is going to come to the aid of Taiwan. Mm-hmm. I think we've had it with military excursions outside the. I think we've gotten terrible, terrible blunders for the last 25 years, and I think the type of weapons we've developed are very good close combat. They're very good in the Middle East with a lot of fine particles and sand, but they're not good in open seas. Mm-hmm. We have just no appetite for foreign excursions anymore, zero. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's going to happen.
So you think that the States will China make just become the next superpower and that will change the States? If China controls Taiwan, that will be make states become.
Well, let me just say
country.
that I'm not a political guy. I'm not, politics is not my area. I think that one of the problems, a wonderful ad that RFK just released, and I think if you have a chance, you should watch it. We'll post a link to it in the YouTube description. I don't think that the people who live in the West, by and large, believe in American exceptionalism anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they, by and large, believe that the United States is a shining city on a hill. I think that large sections of the left are consumed by the previous, so shall we say, sins of the past: colonialism, racism, exploitation. Mm-hmm. I think that the university system has been completely ideologically captured. You're nodding your head. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, tell me about that. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that basically, okay, I will try to make it, to talk about a like farther perspective, to
Yeah.
look at this. I think that every civilization is developed to a point that you don't have like primal needs or primal
Yes.
like real problems. You become like you have like fake problems. That society start to find problems about in places that there are not.
Correct.
And start to make crazy shit. I think that those kind of like the problem with the woke culture and the identity culture, these kind of things, I think that probably is also a way to destroy the society.
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
Yeah, but
Terrific.
yeah, probably is on purpose, or probably is
Definitely
just
it's on purpose.
yeah, it's like people is just stupid, but it's also like polarize the society, and it's something that happened before in other
It's
civilizations.
fueled Trump, the rise of Donald Trump, among other things.
Yeah, so I think that this kind of culture that obviously I'm not going to debate if like to have these crazy debates are legitimate or not, or we should discuss about what is a woman or these kind of crazy things that now is happening in the Western world. I think that this is something when you don't have real problems. And this is something that, because I have a very unique experience, life experience.
Yeah.
Because I was grow up in Europe.
Right.
Yes, but I spent like half part of my life. I was not like too much related to Spanish culture or society. More society. I love the culture. I hate the society, Spanish society. But
What's the difference to you?
the culture is like much more longer. It's not only like the society is what is Spain now, but the culture is like more wide concept, like the history, like the traditions, like sports, like
You think
literature.
Do you think that the Spanish culture and democracy and civilization are going to be around in 25 years?
25 years. I think that culture, civilization, no, because that is something that stayed there. But what is the society now? Society now, you don't need to spend like 25 years. Spain now, like the society have like stupid, crazy problems because we have the same problems that, not the same, but
Tell me what, because I have a problem I'm thinking of. What problem are you thinking of?
in Spain.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, for example, okay, I'm going to talk about two laws that happened in the last year.
Yeah.
Is one law that is supposed to be like help to protect women,
Yeah.
and that actually make a lot of rapists came out of the jail. So that was a really big law because they have like two different law concepts.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, so they will like like, for example, before if you are like doing an harassment, I think that was harassment, like sexual harassment and like rape become more or less the same theme. So rapists become lower, and like lowest problems, lowest issues become like a higher problem.
Yeah.
So that like now the society is super polarized about like feminists and against feminists, and also there a new law that is the trans law. See that basically you can change your gender in your ID, just define but what you feel based on your feelings. So if I go now to Spanish government and I say I feel that I'm a woman, they cannot like check if that is true or I just want to have like other rights or I have privilege. Also another problem is that the government now, they are like trying to keep the power and for any chance, so they don't have enough support, so they need to have like need to like negotiate with independent parties, small parties. So it's a government support for many different parties,
Right.
and every party have their own agenda that is not in the common wealth of everyone in the country. So it's a project, the society now in Spain, that have a great problem.
So, what advantages, cultural advantages or superiorities, or what's better about Taiwanese culture than Spanish culture?
Okay, I think that Taiwanese are more focused on practical things. For example, now, as I said, that Spanish society is super polarized. Like when I used to live in Spain, like 20 years ago, people never talk about the extremist right, left. They don't talk about the extremists, like extreme right, extreme left. There was not that concept. There was only left and right. And now they are like super polarized, and people is super aggressive. And also there are fake debate against and a polarization against women and men. Like people, my friends, men are scared about women, and women are scared about men. And Spain was not a like unsafe country; it was a very safe country in Europe. And now people is super scared about others. So that is something
You don't
that
have
here,
that in Taiwan.
no. People in Taiwan, something that is crazy is how safe. People think that is normal. Taiwanese people think that if you go to a coffee shop, for example, you go to a Ska cafe.
The best coffee in all of Taipei.
Yeah,
Ska coffee. The best coffee.
So if I go to Ska cafe and I put my laptop,
Right.
my smartphone, and I want to go to the bathroom, but maybe I have an appointment to someone, I can leave my laptop there, my wallet, and I can go.
Just like where Reed lives in LA.
Yeah. So I can go exactly the same, right? I can, or in Spain.
It's just like it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
You know that
amazing.
I made a video.
Yeah.
I made a video talking about that, and I have a friend who is actually British Hong Kongese guy, but he's living in the States, and
Yeah.
he's also a YouTuber, very good friend. And the guy called me and said, but the video that you did, like putting your laptop in the, because I did it for real. I put the laptop.
Interesting. Can we post a link of that too? Let's post a link of that. Yeah, yeah.
I leave the laptop and I go away, and I was filming, and I say, okay, here I can leave the laptop, I can go away, and the laptop, when I come back, will stay there 100%. And the guy was living here for 1 year and called me and say, that video you make it like you just, it's fake, right? And I say, no, man, that is what I do every day. Every day I go to a coffee shop, very small, they don't have bathroom. So I put my laptop, I'm editing my videos, and like when I go to the bathroom, maybe I go half an hour, come back, and the laptop is always there. And I have no doubt about that. So that is great. And people will think, of course, why someone will like steal your laptop? Of course, it's normal. For them, it's something normal. It's like if you
But I thought diversity was our strength, though. There's not much diversity here. I'm curious because in Reed's neighborhood, in LA, for example, there's a lot of diversity.
Yeah. There's not so much diversity here. There's diversity, but not so much.
So if we imported more people and more illegal immigrants, maybe the laptop would be there for longer.
Okay.
And defunded the police and abolished the prisons too, which is what these people want to do.
That is something interesting. You know that like not so far away, I think that 1 month ago, there's a a streamer, like a real life streamer. I think that it's like a IRL. I think it's called something like that. They do like real life streaming. So basically, like these are movement of streamers that go like walking around and this stuff. Actually, there are two news in Taiwan. One from an American guy, another one from a Singapore girl. So the American guy was first in Thailand. He said that probably he was contagious by HIV, and they came to Taiwan and was streaming that he came here for fucking around and use girls like that, and use girls for like giving money and this and that, and he was streaming that. So what happened? People have a really strong reaction, and people get mad with this guy, and people start to like telling him, till the point that the mafia came to him and say, you are going to behave yourself, and if you are not doing that and we are watching you, we are going to pay you a visit, so be careful what you do. And people were supporting the mafia. Like 1 month ago or something like that, there a girl making a stream, and she pretends, she makes this kind of fake viral videos where there are Taiwanese old lady like throwing her like eggs and complaining because she said that she's still her wife, her husband or something like that. A bullshit. But that makes a bad image of the country. What happened? Police catch the streamer, make her apologize publicly, and like deport her, and she cannot come back to Taiwan for a few years.
Wow.
And people in Spain, because that become like famous in Spain, people in Spain was like crazy about that. Was like, wow, they are like two extremists. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So I'm trying to figure out, I think I know the answer to this, but how much of the incredible civility and safety here, like on another level, how much of that is due to the ubiquity of cameras? In other words, there are cameras everywhere. Yeah. Is that what's responsible for the people behaving themselves and not acting like primitives and savages and killing each other, murdering each other, committing social justice on the sidewalk, stealing things, assaulting people?
I think that is a part, yes, but it's not I think it's not the primal part. At the beginning, maybe, it's an important part of that.
Okay.
That there are a lot of CCTV.
So if you removed all of the cameras here, would people lapse into barbarism like in Reed's neighborhood?
Not immediately, but maybe in a time. But the problem is that, or the question is, because there are those cameras, like people are more afraid to do something bad, but that makes people start to become more civilized. And now the society, there's a mind in the society saying, no, it's like those things are not right. For them are not in a question. It's like, of course, that is still. I give you a story.
Yeah.
First week I came here, I was living very near from here.
Yeah.
I was in a hostel. And downstairs there are 24 hours open store and like selling like everyday life goods. And there many of the goods are outside in the sidewalk and there's no one there. And I was like, as a Spaniard, I go there and I start to question myself, is this for free? I thought that because in Spain, if you put that like 24 hours and you put outside and you don't put the price, is because it is for free. Or there's no such a thing in Spain. So people will take it. So I was like freak out, saying, I was thinking, so I wait. I said, I was thinking about to take something, but I was waiting. And I say, okay, I'm waiting to see like someone coming around if someone pick something. So in Rome do what Romans do. So I was like observing people for 2 weeks. I was like, I don't understand this. Why there's no one like paying attention to this, but no one speak anything?
I had the same reaction when I went into the 7-Eleven. I almost was in this anaphylactic shock, but keep going.
Yeah, so after 2 weeks, I start my Mandarin classes. So first question I asked my teacher is this for free? And she said something like, why? for free. No, they are selling that. It's a shop. What are you talking about? She didn't understand my question. I said, but it's outside, so everyone can keep it. And she said, but that is steal. And I said, no, it's not a steal. In Spain, it's take it from the street to your house. This is not a steal. And she was like, what fucking barbarian are you? She was like freak out, like, what are you talking about?
She'd have a heart attack if she saw Reed's neighborhood. So, you know, when I went into the 7-Eleven, all these 7-Elevens around the place,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, that place is like a peaceful sanctuary to me.
Yeah.
I love walking in there. I love it. All of the first of all, nothing is behind plastic cases. There's alcohol, hard alcohol. No one looks at you like you're going to steal anything. There's no thugs in there. You just go in, you buy things, you sit down like a civilized human. You know, I was in there the other day, I put on my Instagram, this guy eating pasta and drinking this huge thing of whiskey. There'd just be nothing like that in the States. Like even in civilized places like Naples, like there'd just be nothing like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
So I have two questions. You know, I went to a really gorgeous Buddhist temple. I mean, it was just mind-blowing. And like anybody could walk in there and it was just so amazing. It was so peaceful. And I remembered, I started thinking, and there was no security there. It was a massive building and there was no security. And I remember thinking to myself, like, why is there no security here? This was just yesterday. Why, like, all it would take is one person to come in here and, you know, they had offerings, they could steal the offerings, they could defecate on they could do anything they wanted to do. Well, that's all it took. It was one troublemaker. And then I started thinking to myself, well, I know the answer why. Do you know the answer why?
Yeah, I get.
What do you think the answer is?
The answer is that why people will do that, and if someone do that, will be consequences, and that is something that everyone in Taiwan knows. So is that what I just mentioned about the streamers?
Yeah. So you think the reason that people don't do that is because there's consequences associated with that?
No, there are two reasons.
Okay.
First of one is because of the civilization, because it's a civilized.
It's a civilized society.
Yeah, and people will say, why you want to do that?
Okay.
And second one is because if you still do that because you are crazy or something like that, people will be very strict.
Okay, so
but what do you think?
how do you, well, I know why it is. How do you maintain that civilizational, that basic decency and respect? And I'm not a Buddhist, I'm nothing, but it's not about what one believes, it's about how one acts in the 7-Eleven, on the streets, in a cafe, in a temple. What do you think, what do you think would undermine that? What would it take?
I think that it's all based on the education. It's like people, when it's well, I think that civilization is all based on like education.
Okay, let's say that Reed knows exactly where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Let's say that we did not change the educational system whatsoever. It's exactly like it is. And let's say that the Chinese do not invade. For the system of basic civilization and decency to continue, what would you not have to do?
Well, I don't get the question. What you will not to do for what?
Reed is dying laughing
Yeah.
over there. I'm going to tell you the answer to the question. I do not believe diversity is our strength.
You are not believe. Okay.
I think you would have to import large numbers of unskilled, uneducated men, overwhelmingly Muslim, of a certain age, and I think you get to a critical threshold, and I think that would collapse your civilization.
Yeah.
I think they would go into the temples and destroy them, the radicals, not the average, believer. Young, unskilled, uneducated, a certain age.
I know what
exactly like Britain is doing. the UK, exactly like what's happening in Spain, and Malmo, Sweden, and Malmo, Sweden, the rape capitals, exactly what's happening in Europe. Now, lest anybody think this is some kind of anti-Muslim screed, it is not. We have a very small number of those people who are responsible for radically disproportionate. I remember when I was in the UK, I think there were 300 mosques, either, I can't remember if it's in England or London, and I remember I saw Muslims praying in a church, in outside of a church. And I remember thinking to myself, and I'm not a Christian, I remember thinking to myself, wow, like you literally couldn't go to the sidewalk where you're completely free to play, like you have, or you couldn't go to a park, or you couldn't go to another region. Like, it just seemed to me so, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe they were invited there by the church. I really don't know. I don't have all the variables, but I would suggest to you that if you want to keep the society civilized, you cannot invite in large numbers of unskilled males of a certain age who are Muslims.
You know why I was not considering your answer?
Please.
Because that is not something that is in the mind of any Taiwanese. It's like here, maybe because also it's a small island, and not all the territory you can be colonized because there are a lot of mountains. People is like the policy, politics about like immigration is very, very controlled. It's like, I remember a few years ago, there's a Spanish guy who texts me online. Because when you are famous, there are random people who text you for ask you random questions. And the guy says something like, okay, I was in Taiwan a couple of years, but something was not so good, and I come back to Spain, and I want to ask you a question. And I was thinking, wow, this guy wants to think about that and seems something interesting. So what is your question? He said, I was there, and I expire the time that I should be in Taiwan for a couple of days. So I expire my visa for 2 days, and I go back to Spain. And then when I come back to Taiwan, they don't allow me to enter to Taiwan for a couple of years. And I say, okay.
That's the way it should be.
Where is the question? And he said, no, because it's too strict. And I say, but you break the law. The law says that you cannot come into the country, and they have a strict law. So where is the problem? Say, no, because they don't want to understand me. No, they understand you, but...
They're doing that because they understand you.
Yeah. And I don't get the point. And the guy was like fighting with me for that. I don't understand. I completely with the Taiwanese, but it's very clear. There's no problem. It's very clear. The law says that
couldn't be any more clear to me.
Yeah. So here, what I mean is like here, like the control of the immigration is very strict, and not only the control of the immigration in terms of number and rules is, if you are here, you need somehow to get, you need to do Taiwan's lifestyle. If you are trying to like impose your own culture, Taiwanese is like super peaceful, and you can do whatever you, it's a society based on the freedom of people. But if you are trying to do something that affect others in the city, Taiwanese are not going to allow that. And the government is not, and the people is not going to allow that you try to impose your like foreigner culture inside Taiwan. What you want to believe, what you want to do in your private life, everything is okay. But don't mess around with other people and try to impose something from outside, because they will be like draconian.
That's a great word. That's great. So the Taiwanese understand something that the United States government does not. I don't care what administration is in power. The Republican viewers are now going to go crazy with this comment, but it's true. I stand by this. The Taiwanese understand the importance of securing a border. You cannot have a country you cannot have sovereignty if you just let people stream in through the border and you have no idea who these people are. Murderers, rapists, pedophiles. You cannot, like in the United States now, we have a terrible problem with our southern border. Terrible.
Yeah.
People are coming in, and Elon Musk is constantly tweeting about it. It seems to me, so are you familiar with the border problem in the
Yeah,
US?
of course.
Okay, so what is your, as an outsider to the system, what is your perception of the fact that we cannot close our southern border and tens of thousands of people, actually, I don't even want to tell you the figures, but what is your perception of the fact that the United States does not close its borders, and there are people in the United States who do not believe in the concept of U.S. sovereignty?
Yeah, I think that that is obviously like have no sense for
It's
me.
insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's my view as well.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. It's like I'm not against the. I think that is one of the problems that most part of the debates in the Western world has. It's not against the immigration.
Absolutely not.
It's
I'm
not-
totally pro-immigration.
Yeah, the problem is not immigration. Actually, immigration can have like enrich the country, but the problem is not that. The problem is what kind of immigration and what numbers of immigration. Yeah. You cannot control, you cannot, because you want to be like moral superior and say, no, I'm very tolerant, and you can allow that people who want to destroy your culture came into your...
You know what's amazing to me? The level of dishonesty among people is astonishing, because they have this moral conception, and the moral conception that they have is every immigrant, it doesn't matter what country they're from, they all make the same contributions. That is just a lie. It is not even false. It is just a lie. I interviewed Eric Kaufman, who's a political scientist in London, and Matt Goodwin. And if you haven't seen those interviews, I'd highly recommend them. Mm-hmm. But among the things that Eric Kaufman talks about are contributions to the Treasury. Mm-hmm. Who makes the most contributions and who takes from the Treasury? That's just like one simple metric. And it just seems to me to be the idea that we should take all people equally seems crazy to me. Why would you not want to take people who are more likely, whose citizens are more likely to make contributions and contribute to the Treasury? Now, you can say, well, there's some other access that we have to consider. It couldn't be just the Treasury. Maybe they make great dancers or something. Maybe they make some kind of a cultural contribution. Great. That should go in the metrics.
Yeah.
100%. Like, no, maybe they have a unique skill in like the didgeridoo or, you know, coffee makers, whatever it is. But I'm curious about, because I know there are a lot of Indonesians here in Indonesia is the most populous Muslim country in the world. I know there are a lot of Indonesians here. Do you happen to know crime rates for people coming in from various countries? I was literally just looking this up the other day in Taiwan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Indonesians here, I'm very familiar with that. Okay. Basically, I speak also Indonesian. I was living there, and I am very familiar with Indonesia. That is a fascinating country, with huge problems, and it's not Indonesia. I can speak for hours about Indonesia, and I love it. But people here who came from Indonesia don't make trouble. Why? Because if you make trouble,
that was my question to you. Why? Yeah. Why are Indonesians so well integrated into society here?
Are not integrated, not so much, but are very well like restricted to their job. They came here for do jobs, for work, couple of works.
So why are the crime rates among Indonesians so low?
Because first, because they are too busy to make crimes. Second, because they are doing 3 times the salary that they will do in Indonesia from the same work, or even more. So they came here for a reason. They came here for work, and they work hard. In some ways, I think that maybe a little bit too much, but they know why.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm no expert in this, and it seems to me from what I've read about this, and to an extent seen myself, is that it's not just Indonesian men. There are large numbers of Indonesian women.
Most part of women.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they are basically doing two works. One is to work in factories, and this probably larger work is working in care, in like taking care of all people, basically. And this is the most, but that is very regulated.
So that would be an example of successful immigration.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we regulate that. We don't let anybody come in who they want. They have visas. They stay a certain time.
Yeah.
You would give them, they can work, and then at a certain period of time they go back, and everybody's fine.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. And if you do in that period of time, if you mess around, you go out immediately.
I read that.
It's not like, no, maybe we are going to put you in. No. Go out. We don't mess with that.
Okay, so help me understand something then. Isn't that how every civilized society should have an immigration policy? Mm-hmm. We monitor the borders. If you want to work and we vet you and you're not a maniac, you can come in and we'll give you a visa for a certain time. We might even give you, whatever. In the United States, we have different classifications of visas for high-tech jobs or what have you. And if you fuck around, find out. We'll just deport you.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Immediately. Yeah.
Okay, so the view that I just articulated, do you view that as a conservative view? How would you classify that view?
I don't like to classify things. Probably for most part of people will be a conservative point of view, but I think that the alternative is worse. So I don't care about how people will tag that.
So I'll say that, and hundreds of people will say, oh, that's some kind of crazy conservative view. You're some kind of alt-right maniac because you don't want to open the border and let anybody who wants to come in.
Yeah, okay, I don't care about that. I think that also many people is very afraid to be, for example, in Europe, especially in Spain, people is very crazy about the terms to be a Nazi or to be a fascism. Is that?
Fascist.
Fascist. To be a fascist. They use fascist for everything.
Right.
If
they
you
do
are
in
not
the US too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If you don't think like me, you are fascist. So after a while, I think, okay, I am a fascist. Whatever you want. I'm not.
You don't pay attention to them.
I don't fucking care. It's like everyone is calling. It's like too afraid. It's the same that we was talking. Is that I don't think that we should be afraid to be called something.
It's like 13-year-olds. It's like these are like 13-year-old girls calling each other names on a playground.
Yeah.
You fascist. You Nazi.
Yeah. It's like
you bigot. You homophobe. You transphobe.
Yeah, and it's like people like to simplify also everything. It's like you are left or right. And I think that you can call me left, you can call me right, I don't fucking care because my ideas are my ideas.
Yeah.
And it's not belongs to right or left. And
I agree.
Also changing. I'm changing my idea. In this same conversation, I'm changing ideas because you give me some feedback and make me think, for example.
Well, what ideas are you changing?
I'm not changed in this moment, but you are giving me your perspective.
Yeah.
And for example, what you think about the US helping Taiwan and the problems in the US from your perspective. That gives me a new information that makes me evaluate again my ideas.
And here's the problem with that, with you reevaluating your ideas. The problem is that I cannot get people on the show who have substantive disagreements with me. They just won't come on the show. They won't have this conversation. And so I don't have a possibility to reflect on the truth of my beliefs. I would love to have someone come on the show who genuinely believes, they're not just posturing, that having an open border is a good thing. And I'm not talking about libertarians. I understand there are many libertarians who believe this, but why? So I'm much older than you are, I'm 57. When I was younger, Fidel Castro released all the people from mental institutions, criminally insane, and prisons, and sent them to Miami. And I remember that. Mm-hmm. And if I were the president of El Salvador and I really didn't care about the relations with the United States, I'd send all the people I've locked up to right through the border. I was interviewing Chris Martenson about the trail into the United States. I'd just empty out insane asylums, criminally insane criminals, murderers. I just send them right to the U.S. The problem is that the people who are either advocating these situations, these border conditions, they're not willing to have a conversation about it. The same people who are not willing to have a conversation about a host of other issues, almost universally, although not universally on the far left. Trans issues, gender issues, disparity in outcomes, the Ibrahim Kendi. Someone actually offered, Chuck Westcott offered $100,000 to Ibrahim X. Kendi if he would debate me. But of course, Kendi makes more than that in a talk. So why would he debate me if he can make more than, he's a grifter, he's a complete charlatan. All these people are complete charlatans. They won't, forget even a debate, they won't even have a conversation.
Yeah.
So when you say that you've changed your ideas, or you're thinking about something, in order for that to have happened for you, you had to have somebody who came in with a view that you didn't hold. Because by definition, that's how we change our beliefs. You meet some kind of resistance.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That happened to me like a few years ago. I have a conversation with a foreigner YouTuber here that is very pro-Taiwanese, and he talked to me and said, no, because China don't have 5,000 years of history as a country.
Yeah.
That is false. And I believe that on that time. And I, of course, have some resistance and say, no, come on, that is common sense and these things. But after I reject that, I start to read. And I suddenly discover, fuck, this guy is right. Yeah. He's right. And it's something that I have this belief, this thought, but I think that the people have a problem. That is, get too emotionally engaged with their thoughts.
Yeah.
They think that they are their thoughts.
Yeah, and morally engaged.
Yeah, exactly. And that is something that is not good for the human.
I completely agree.
Yeah, for human beings.
So what do you think? Why should people in the U.S. in particular, and Europe in general, why should they care about Taiwan? You mentioned semiconductors. You've mentioned kind of geopolitical base. Are those the reasons people should care? Because Taiwan is just like some island that most people couldn't.
Yeah, they don't even know. My family was saying that how was my life in China for years, or my friends was asking me about Japanese, and was like, yeah, people don't know about that. But it seemed like happened here. People in Taiwan, they don't know about like. Today I was talking with a Hong Kong friend, a Hong Kong girlfriend, and she was asking me if Greece was a country. Greece.
Wow.
Yeah, and she didn't know about that. And so, yeah, when it's far away from your house, people don't have this feeling, this attach, and they don't know many things. It's crazy how in this world we still have a lot of lack of information about other countries. Okay, but I think that for Western people, they should know that if the CCP controls Taiwan and control microchips, they have a problem, a big problem, because they can basically control anything that the whole world needs for the modern life. The alternative is go back to like 70 years ago. Yeah. And I don't think that now is an alternative that. So that is make the most cruel and the most like crazy dictatorship makes control the world. And that is something scary. We are talking about like the great leap that is in human history, where the event that the most people died for hunger, that is made for the same CCP that now is in the government. And before with Hu Jintao, things were more like friendly, but now Xi Jinping becomes to the level of Mao Zedong.
Yeah.
That, talking about that, is the dictator that killed more people in the human history.
Right.
It's crazy because I'm completely agree about, like, in Western world, I think that mostly everyone are very clear about Hitler is the biggest bad guy in human history. But actually it's not. And that is great that there are common sense that we don't should have dictators and dictators who kill like millions of people. That is great that we have this agreement in the Western world. But how we missed like Mao Zedong, and no one's like will think about Mao Zedong in Western world like a criminal that is the person who has more deaths in the human history.
Yeah.
And who is saying that Mao Zedong is a criminal in the Western world? It's like not so many people.
I'm telling you, I'm just going to give you a little reality check, if you don't mind. I would be astonished if 5% of the population of the United States knows who Mao Zedong is. Literally, I would be flabbergasted. I don't even think 1% of the population would know who the quote-unquote president of China is. I would bet that around 50% of the people know the country that's to the north of the United States. Now, they know a lot about gender, or they think they know a lot about gender. They think you can be born in the wrong body. They know a lot about systemic racism, or they think they do. Everything they know is false. But in terms of the United States, our geographical knowledge is pathetic. In terms of the United States, our knowledge of, I don't even think 1/10 of 1% of the people could tell you that the Duma is in Russia, I just don't think they could find Ukraine on a map, even though we're giving them billions of dollars in weapons. I don't think they could find North Korea, Iran. And I don't even think many of our elected officials could do that. I don't think that people outside the United States realize how profound the educational crisis is. Truly profound and pathetic this system is. That's my opinion. I don't know if everybody here in the room will agree, but that's my sincere take from living in the US. You know, when I was in Hungary, I'm gonna go back to Hungary. So you'll probably believe me when I tell you this, but I've told my American friends this and they didn't believe me. I lived in the city of Budapest, in the middle of the city. I slept with my door open all the time. I never locked my door. No problem. Zero problem. Nothing. Never had any remote problem here. I've never felt unsafe anywhere I've gone here. Never felt unsafe in Australia. Never felt unsafe in Romania. It is only when I go back to my own country that I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
You know, armed guards and the Dunkin' Donuts and the CVS and the, I was gonna say 7-Eleven, but I don't really go to 7-Eleven. But I don't know, there's something about people who live outside the US who tend to inflate the education and basic decency of people who live in the US. I don't think we're a very decent people anymore. I think we're caught up in grievances. I think we are polarized. I think we view everybody who doesn't believe exactly what we do as an existential threat, not merely a bad person, but a threat to our very existence. Yeah. I think we are largely consumed by other people believing that someone's a racist or there's a latent racist. And I think that there are systems in play like the media. I remember when African Americans were attacking Asians wholesale in the streets. Like, it was basically an epidemic. And the media would constantly, and I say the media is a plural noun, but I say constantly I heard this is white supremacy. There weren't even any whites there. There were no whites at all, anywhere. So I think the media has been captured. This is one of many examples. I think the academic institutions have been captured. People who live outside the US don't understand the degree of the problems that our institutions are facing. Nobody trusts their institutions anymore. We don't trust the media, we don't trust the court system, we don't trust academia, we don't trust the medical system. The highest ranking of trust is people trust their own doctors. That's it, that's the highest level of trust. And then it precipitously falls from that. So I hope, obviously, that China doesn't invade Taiwan, obviously. I love this place. I think that the people have built a robust democracy. I think they've built a wonderful culture. I would hate to see that happen, but I would be at the state of shocked if the United States came to Taiwan's defense against China. I would be shocked if that happened.
Okay.
And I don't think it matters if it's Biden or Trump or some wild card that I don't even know who it's going to be. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I not agree with that for the reason that I mentioned.
I hope I'm wrong, by the way. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, but what we talking is like, okay, maybe also I am wrong. I think that to progress in your life, you should always keep in mind that maybe you are wrong. Otherwise, you are dead because you are
Totally.
not going to change. The basic principle of life is changing.
Right.
So if your ideas are not changing never, you are dead in your brain.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I really, honest to God, I truly, honestly hope I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Like, if you look at surveys and polls, our appetite for foreign interventions is...
Yeah, but what my point on this topic is that what people, like most part of population, thinks is not what matters. Is what the elites and people in government will think that is important to keep their power. And for keep their power, they will need to protect here. Is what I mentioned in the interview with Vivek
Ramaswamy.
Ramaswamy. Oh, his family name is very difficult to pronounce. But Ramaswamy mentioned that, and I think it's very good.
Yeah, he's a legitimately smart human being.
Yeah.
Based, as they say, as well. Okay, where can people find you?
I have now 2 channels. One is called Atoa Bu Chao Mei Yu, but that is in Chinese.
Okay.
Sometimes I have like English subtitles, and another one is Atoa in Taiwan that is in Spanish. So, and I'm talking about these kind of topics. Sometimes doing also street interviews.
Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
No. It's your interview.
Yeah. Did you want to ask me anything?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I took a frog.
I want to end on saying that Ska Coffee is the best coffee in Taipei, and we're not getting paid for this. We're not getting paid.
Yeah.
We're actually not getting paid, but you love Ska Coffee.
Of course, I love it.
I love Ska Coffee.
Yeah.
We drink there. All of us drink Ska Coffee every day. I have like, 5? I'm the best customer. They like 5 cups a day.
I hear that.
Yes, best customer. Well, thank you, Jesus.
Yep, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.